everyone, welcome into the very first episode of the AshBros podcast. My name is, you guessed it, Ash, and some of you may know me from my online persona, which is Broma18 on YouTube. Now, I generally cover football video games like FIFA, Football Manager, PES, etc. on my YouTube channel, but I have to be honest and say my passion is really for video games as a whole. There's so much in the video game world that I don't cover on my YouTube channel, and this podcast is really a method to branch out with that. Now, before I get into what you can expect from this podcast and we get into the exciting topic for this episode today, I need to do the most important thing of all, and that is introduce my co-host. You may have noticed that this is called the AshBros podcast, plural, and that's because there isn't one Ash here, but two. Ash, hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
You're right.
I'm the other AshBro. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate.
I'm excited. We've been speaking about doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And it's good to finally sort of get it underway.
Yeah, so, I actually announced on my Patreon like 4 or 5 months ago that I was looking to do a podcast, and
sounds about right, yeah.
They've been asking me for, ages, when to podcast, any news on that. And I've been saying, it's coming. Yeah.
Here it is.
A little quick background on you reckon?
Yeah, sure. So, I've known this chap, Broma18, from day one, really. Like, we literally went to nursery together, didn't we? And
about 4 years older.
Yeah, and we've sort of just been super, super close, best friends, like, ever since, really.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of started gaming, again, from, like, day one. I think my dad had like a computer, he was a gamer, and he passed on the baton down to me, and I've loved it ever since. Big passion of mine. Just happy to be here.
I mean, we've always said, really, haven't we, that we'd like do something together, like, for work or whatever it may be, and this is kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah, we've always thought we'd do something together, and this seems like a really great thing that we can do. And
we've been chomping at the bit to get it done, really. Everything's been coming up, hasn't it? Like, I got COVID, and then you were ill recently.
I got the flu, yeah. It's just been,
Technical issues.
Yeah. It's just been one thing after another, and it's great to finally be able to get stuck in, and I'm excited. I think this will be really fun, yeah. Yeah,
really excited. So, first things first, to all you lovely listeners out there, we should probably say that this episode and also the next episode, episodes 1 and 2, are going to be pilot episodes just to kind of test the water. Now, obviously I'm used to editing stuff on my YouTube channel, but for podcasts, things are very different. It's extremely different. So there's a massive learning curve. And so these are just to kind of test the water a little bit. Things aren't set up on that. So do just bear with us. We want to see how it goes with regard to the reception, how the podcast goes, the quality, etc. And hopefully it goes well, and we can go from there.
Hopefully, yeah. No, I think we're looking for all the feedback, constructive feedback that we can get, really. Just anywhere you think.
Don't just get out to us and say you're clowns.
Something constructive, That'd
be nice.
But yeah.
So, what can you guys expect from the podcast? Well, obviously, it's a video gaming podcast, and we're going to filter in episodes like this where there's certain topics. So today, which we'll go into a little bit later, we're going our top 5 video games of all time. And there'll be certain episodes with those specific topics, but also we want to be covering kind of general gaming news, isn't that right? And we hope for this to be a kind of weekly podcast.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. And it won't just be fixed to one thing. If there's any news that's came out recently, then we'll sort of cover that. If there's like a new game that's came out, I was maybe thinking about sort of reviewing and things like that. It's going to be quite a varied podcast, I think.
And we like to think that we have a varied range of games as well, so we can cover lots of bases, whether it be on PC or Xbox, Switch, or football games, or role-playing games, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's a bit of everything for everyone.
I think between us, we do cover the vast majority of genres as well.
Yeah.
I think we don't have polar opposite tastes, but equally, I think we both pick up genres that the other doesn't, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I think it's like a nice duo for general gaming.
100%.
Yeah.
So before we do get into that topic today, I want to talk about where you can reach us. Hopefully when these episodes are out, you can find us on the regular podcasting app, Spotify, Apple Play or Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, Stitcher, Google Play, all that stuff. You can find it on my YouTube channel as well, which is Broma18. If you want the video version, you want to see our faces, although my face is kind of covered by the microphone, and all that good stuff. And hopefully you guys can reach out to us and say what you'd like to see in the future episodes. If you've got any sort of questions or anything like that you want to reach out to us, then feel free. On Twitter, it is the AshBros Podcast. And if you want to reach out to us by email, we do have a Gmail account, and that is the AshBros Podcast once again. And if you want to find us on YouTube, as I say, Broma18. A lot of you will probably be coming over from my YouTube channel initially for these episodes, so you'll already know me, so hopefully that goes okay. Make sure to reach out to us in future episodes as well for things like special episodes, if we want to get your feedback, such as today we're covering the top 5 video games, so if you want to kind of tell us what your top 5 games are, hopefully we can feature that in future episodes, then let us know. Reach out to us, like I say, on Twitter, email us, on YouTube, whichever you prefer, and we will do our best to feature you if and when we can.
We want to make this as interactive as possible with you, the viewer, right? We want to involve you as much as we can. So try and get engaged as much as you can.
I mean, we spoke about that, didn't we? We were saying like that's really important to us, and we want to push that out. So hopefully you guys will respond.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right then, today we have a really, really fun topic. One that we've been chomping at the bit to do, and that is the top 5 video games of all time. Now, I am just going to clarify here, this is our top 5 favourite video games of all time, because naturally we haven't played every video game in existence, so we can't know the best of all of them, can we?
No. Although between us, we probably came fairly close with the amount of games we play.
Yeah. So, it is our top 5 favourite. We'll have a couple of honourable mentions in there as well. We cheated a bit. And also, at the end, I have decided to predict what I think Ash's 5 games are. And he has predicted what he thinks my 5 games are. So, we are going to, at the end, kind of reconvene and see how many we got right and how many we got wrong. I'll be honest, I'm feeling fairly confident. I'm going into this thinking 3 or 4 of these I think are going to be in your list.
Polar opposite for me. It's a disaster. I found it really hard to guess your favourite games. So we'll see how I did, right? I'm confident I'll get 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, I think 1 you'll definitely get.
Yeah, hopefully.
No,
you say that. Hopefully.
Yeah. No, I think you'll definitely know 1. I mean, I actually, with Emily, that's my girlfriend for listeners, I spoke about this with her, and she managed to get a couple. So it's like a competition between me and your girlfriend. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who knows your gaming habits more?
Well, precisely. So if she managed to get a couple, I believe that you should also be able to get a couple.
I agree. Yeah, hopefully. You'd hope so. Yeah.
Let's get into it then. Right. So
who's going first?
You want to go first?
Sure. So
number 5 on the list. We are going from 5 to 1.
Sure. So we'll go from 5 to 1. Yeah. So my number 5 favourite game is going to be Total War Warhammer 2.
Oh.
I have 578 hours on this game. Bear in mind, I played the previous one, and I've played Total Warhammer 3 as well, and I have 578 hours. This is the type of game you can sink an entire day into and not get bored.
Yeah.
If you get into a save that you are super into, it is just crazy how long and how prolonged the enjoyment can go, honestly. taking over, different races. The units are incredibly cool. I've always been a fan of the strategy of Total War games. I played Rome. I played some other ones as well. Medieval back a few years, going back a few years.
Which
now.
we've played them together many times.
Yes, many times, yeah. And having the fancy element as well, flying creatures, it's a perfect type of game for me, and I love it, man.
And
100%.
I want to pick up on something that you mentioned, just like how you can sink hours and hours into it. We've spoken about this before, and that is that when you can kind of simulate time and you advance time at your own kind of discretion, it's so much easier, isn't it, to like sink hours and hours into it and just get lost.
Yeah, exactly. Getting lost is exactly how I'd describe it. There's no pressure on you to go into the next game or time limit. It's just you get engrossed in this world and just do things at your own pace and slowly take over the world in Total Warhammer 2 in that case.
And as is going to be a theme amongst my list, this is actually a game that you showed me first, and I remember we kind of got into it a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, well, in fact, you showed me all the Total War games because I remember being at your house many years ago, back when we were little lads, and things like Rome Total War, Medieval Total War. I played them first at yours.
Good old days. Yeah. Absolutely, I remember those days.
Yeah.
Remember those days fondly.
I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, because obviously we did an online save together. I couldn't get into this one as much. I've been more Rome Total War. To be honest, that's probably my favourite. But what is it about the Warhammer element compared to the other Total Wars, Rome, Medieval, whatever they may be, that kind of reaches out to you?
This is an easy answer for me, and it's the fantasy element. It's being able to play as the Dark Elves, like the variety. Like with Rome, you can play as, Rome, there's like 4 different factions, or you can play a different, human, a different faction of human, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, you've got like Wood Elves, you've got, as I say, High Elves, you've got Reptilians, you've got like Skaven rat people who live in tunnels. It's just the amount of variety and replayability that it's got. It's crazy, and some of the units are just so cool. Like I can't think of a better way to describe it just than cool. Like you've got these massive like doom wheels that are just crossing across the map. You've got giants. You've got like huge mammoth things. You've got flaming eagles on fire. Like all this stuff is unique to Total Warhammer over like Rome or Alexander or any of the other games. It's just the fancy element. Just I love, man.
Yeah, so it's like the diversity and the uniqueness, and obviously the fact
100%.
it's fantasy. Because you're a bit of a fantasy guy, aren't you?
I am definitely a fancy guy, yeah. Which you'll see in my list. There's quite a few fancy games in there, as you can imagine. But I don't know what it is. I mean, early on, I've played fancy games, and I guess I just always loved the idea of some of the awesome things that happen in those worlds. Yeah. So that is my number 5.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
So on to my number 5 now. My number 5 game is a game called Heavy Rain.
Oh, Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we spoke a little bit earlier. The theme is that you've showed me many of these games. This is one that I learned about from you, because I can remember going around to your house and you had the demo of it before it came out on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, PS3,
Yeah, and I played it and I was like, wow, this is cool. This is something unbelievable, because it was, at the time, I wasn't used to games where you were so free, like you could make all these choices and you have so much control and stuff, and, the decisions you make were impacting, on the storyline, etc. And I was kind of blown away with it. And I'll be honest, it's been so long since I've played this. It has been quite a few years since I played this game, and I really want to kind of get back on it now. It's now available on PC, because it was only ever a PlayStation exclusive for like years. But now that it's on PC, more of us can play it. And for anyone who hasn't played it, what it is, I mean, it's really hard to explain, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of yeah.
like the genre, I don't think I could. It's very dark. It's very gritty. Ultimately, it's about young boy who goes missing, and they believe it's at the hands of someone called the Origami Killer, who is a serial killer who takes young boys. They turn up, they're drowned, and they're dead. You know, very, as I say, dark and gritty. You know, and he leaves a kind of piece of origami on their body, and that's why he's called the Origami Killer. And with this one, you control multiple characters. So you control the father of the boy who's gone missing. You control an FBI agent investigating. You control a woman who's a journalist. And you control a private detective who's investigating as well. And you kind of interchange between all four characters as the kind of narrative progresses. And you're generally just trying to discover, you know, where is the boy, who is the origami killer, etc. But you have complete control over your actions and your decisions and what you say. And so it can lead in many different paths. You know, it can diverge many different ways. Characters aren't necessarily going to survive. So I remember on my first playthrough, one of my characters, and I won't say which one to avoid any spoilers, died because I let them die. I wasn't quick enough to react. And so you can get multiple different endings. So it's really cool. And I just remember being blown away by it at the time because it was unlike anything else I'd ever played. Don't forget, this was 2009. So, you know, compared to games today where there's a lot more of that, back in those days, there was just less of that. And it just really blew my mind. What do you think? I remember you playing it as well.
Heavy Rain is just one of the GOAT games for sure. I remember, I mean, there's so many points I want to pick up really. Replayability, you're talking about the amount of endings you get.
Definitely.
You always wanted to like get different endings and find out what other stories could go down.
Yep.
Consequences for choices, it actually made you care about being good at the game, which a lot of games, in my case anyway, I sort of ease through and like, oh, if I don't do this, then, you know, I'll just respawn.
Because you know you're going to die and then you'll just come back and then that's it. You can just go again and
exactly.
be careless.
Where this game, it messes up your story if you're not careful. Like, if you want a good ending, you cannot mess up. And I love that, you know. And I also, it was one of the first good games that had a real like choice-driven narrative.
Yeah.
It was one of the pioneers of that sort of genre in a way, I think, and it did it brilliantly. I mean, it was really ahead of its time in terms of storyline. I thought,
100%.
A brilliant choice.
Yeah, and like you say, with that whole, it makes your choices matter and stuff. You know, with regards to being like the FBI agent or the detective, you could, you'd investigate crime scenes and you could miss out on evidence that would help you find a key. You know, you really have to be thorough, and it's just those little things, those intricate things that I just think as we say, just makes it so brilliant and so ahead of its time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and I also love the different perspectives you get because all this story is integrated between these different characters. But not only that, you're getting different perspectives of like the case being moved on. You're getting like the personal hurt of the dad. You're getting like the more police side of the detective. It was just done brilliantly, honestly.
Yeah. So we'd definitely advise any and all of you to give that a shot if you got either
100%
PC or PlayStation.
Yeah, 100%. You need to play it if you haven't played it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Shall I
number 4?
Move on to number 4?
Yeah.
So my number 4 game is Fallout New Vegas. Bit of an old game now. So when did it come out? It came out in 2010, which is, obviously 12 years ago now. It's quite a dated game, I'll be honest. If you try and play it now, the gameplay is very dated and it's kind of difficult to pick up. But the story in that game and just the role-playing elements are just unmatched for me. I've not played another game like it in terms of how it is partially choice-driven, but the characters are just brilliant. The world is just brilliant. It's got background lore that's just really thorough and interesting. And it's the type of game where you want to pick up the books in game and actually read about the world, and you end up talking to loads of characters, not because you have to, just because you want to learn, their story and how they integrate themselves with this world. And the first time I played this game was just breathtaking. And it's the type of game where I've stayed up till stupid times playing it. I just can't bring myself to take myself off the computer.
No, yeah.
It's just crazy. And the DLC is brilliant. It's really the full package, in my opinion.
And so we have had multiple conversations over the years, how you've always said to me, Fallout, because I've tried playing Fallout 4 and I can't get into it. I can, even though I really wanted to, because it's the sort of game I like. And you'd always say to me, no, Fallout New Vegas all the way. Like, just try that. And I've always wanted to try it, but the dated graphics really put me off, and that's kind of the reason, which is a shame, really, because you shouldn't let that kind of, stop you and prevent you from doing it, should you? But it does a little bit. And I have actually wondered, maybe there's mods out there.
Yeah, I was thinking mods, or I'm really praying for a remaster at some point. I'd love a remaster.
Because that's so also much. the only Fallout game that wasn't developed by Bethesda. It was outsourced, wasn't it? Was it Obsidian?
Obsidian Studios, I believe.
Which in itself is pretty mad, really. That they kind of outsourced that IP, and then a lot of people will say that was the best one. Yeah.
I mean, you can really tell the difference. Like, Fallout 4 is a completely different game to Fallout New Vegas, and really, theoretically, I should be putting Fallout 4 down. It's the newest game. It had the bigger budget. It's a bigger project, but it just doesn't have the same story quality that Fallout New Vegas does, or world quality, or anything really. Like, the gameplay is massively improved, but I don't really care about the characters nearly as much as Fallout New Vegas when I first played that. Like I say, it's the type of game where you just want to talk to like everyone, just to learn, what they're all about.
So I was going to ask, like, obviously, because you've got Fallout 4, you've got Fallout 3, New Vegas, Fallout 76, if you want to include that as well.
If you want to include that one.
Why is it that New Vegas is top of the list for you ahead of all the others?
Fallout 3, I never really massively got into. I did finish it, but in terms of like the side quests, I think for games like Fallout, you really have to commit yourself to do the side quests and stuff if you really want to get the experience. Mm-hmm. Comparing that to Fallout New Vegas, personally, I enjoyed the world more. I think Vegas as a destination, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is like the New Vegas Strip, which
I was going to say, I'm guessing they have the Strip.
Yeah, the Vegas Strip, which is had a bit of a renovation after the apocalypse, and you see early on like this big light in the sky, which is this massive tower. These are all casinos, so it's all got lights. And that's sort of the like end game zone, and being able to see that early on, as you're going through, it's like, oh my goodness, I want to go there, and instantly you're like driven to go through the story. Fallout 3, for me, it's just not a strong story, to be honest. Quite similar games, and I'd say they're both better than Fallout 4, but I just think that the story is just and the world is just better in New Vegas, to be honest. Fallout 4. It's good. It's obviously a modern adaptation, but the choices, the story, and the characters just aren't as good as New Vegas, honestly. Yeah, it's just a bit of everything that New Vegas just does better, I think.
So, New Vegas takes the podium for the Fallout games.
Spot, yeah,
position.
Absolutely right. It takes gold for Fallout games. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I just wish they would do a remaster. I'm praying for that.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised they haven't, to be honest, for all the Fallout games. It's really strange. There's got to be a massive market for it, surely.
100%. They could milk people dry, I bet. I guess they've tried to put a bunch of work into Fallout 76, I guess, right?
Oh. Yeah. Well, actually, I played that when it was first released, and it was just an absolute mess, and everyone hated it. But I've heard recently that apparently it has improved massively, because I know people who've been playing it recently, so it might be worth another bash. But I'm not overly optimistic.
Yeah, me neither. To be honest, it's just not what the Fallout series is. Fallout, it's about a solo RPG experience,
Yep.
and they've just tried to dip into a new market, and they've just done it well. From what I know, early on they did it poorly. I don't know about the current state of the game.
And that's really
Maybe
the
I'll pick it
Bethesda
up.
way as well, isn't it? Like, I know they have Elder Scrolls Online as well, but people generally know them and love them for the single player experiences.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Right. Should we move on to your number 4?
Yes. And we'll stick with games that you showed me.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Number 4 on my list is Saints Row 2.
Ah.
So, similar to Heavy Rain, I remember going around to your house, and the first time I play is at yours on your PS3. I'm thinking, wow, this is a laugh. And Saints Row 2, it's just the memories more than anything. I can't say that it blows you away graphically, like, does it compare to GTA? Don't forget this game was, 2008? So, graphically, it is a little bit dated. Not terrible, but a little bit dated. But the storyline, just the fun you'd have on that game was just unrivaled. It really was. It was so fun. And I actually went into this having not played Saints Row 1, the original. So obviously the storylines lead on. But it didn't seem to matter too much, to be honest. And that was just another part of it. So, for anyone who hasn't played Saints Row, I mean, everyone knows what Saints Row is, don't they, really? But just in case you don't...
You'd hope so, yeah.
Yeah, just in case you don't, it's basically kind of a GTA rival. That's always what it's been dubbed as, except, particularly with Saints Row 1 and 2, it's more about kind of the gangs and taking the territory and stuff like that. And I know there's those kind of elements in, say, San Andreas, for example, with the Ballers and all that stuff, and Grove Street. But generally with GTA, if you look at like 4 and 5, etc., it's kind of like a solo kind of venture. Whereas with this, you're kind of the leader of a gang, the Saints, and ultimately you're trying to take over the city. And it's so fun, isn't it? I love this game so much. I really want to play again. It's been so long again since I've played this, and I should pick it up again because it was just so fun.
Yeah, I think after this podcast, we'll both be revisiting our games, won't we?
Yeah, we really will. We really will, mate.
Yeah. So what I'd ask is, what are the major pros of Saints Row that you wouldn't find in Grand Theft Auto, right? Because GTA is the biggest name of that sort of free, I don't know, would you call it sandbox? Maybe not sandbox, but the kind of causing chaos in a city type game, right? So what would you say is better in Saints Row? What does Saints Row do better than GTA, basically?
Well, partly is what I've just spoken about with the gangs and taking a territory. You have lots of different territories amongst a city, and you have that feeling of progression where you take over one territory and you move on to the next, and you see the kind of map coming more and more purple because the Saints' colour scheme is purple, unfortunately. Yeah. And part of that is really gratifying. Do you know what I mean? Taking that territory. Yeah. I think GTA is funny in itself, but I think Saints Row is more funny. It really takes it to a new level. Some of the scenes in that are just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Naturally, I think both games do really well, is where you bond with the characters more, and there is part of that as well with Saints Row. The radio, the music, absolutely brilliant. I listened to we listened to the same radio station, which was Generation X, which was actually, as we discovered recently, voice acted by the guy who plays Barney in How I Met Your Mother. That's his name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Veteran child. I was blown away by that. Really blown away.
You can't unhear it when you learn that.
Really can't, can you? And you wonder, how did I not realise that originally?
How did I not clock it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the music, because obviously that completely changes when you're driving around and stuff. The experience is kind of dependent on that, and the music is absolutely brilliant. I'd actually go as far as to say that's Radio Station is my favourite out of all these kind of games, because GTA, you have all this music and these radio stations and stuff. That's the one I will keep going back to and keep listening to. Like on YouTube, you'll find the full set and that. And I think that's a massive contributing factor.
I think you make a good point with the gangs. I think there's 3 rival gangs to the Saints, and they're all like so unique in their style and their like culture that it just makes, because you go through a storyline with each of them and it makes each storyline just unique and super enjoyable. Like, it's not like the same thing over and over. I think GTA does sometimes, where it's like, you know, oh, you're stealing another car from a different person. Oh, okay, brilliant. Whereas this one, there was a unique, like strong, funny in parts storyline that you cared about for each gang. And and you get the sense of progression, as you say, with like the slowly painting the map purple, right?
Yeah, precisely.
It's
which is something that GTA has never done it like that, has it? I don't think so. I don't think it was like that in San Andreas. Yeah, and another thing is some of the scenes and the kind of script writing really good. Like, it's coincidentally, I was actually sending voice notes to someone else who me and Ash know, Will Timon, today of lines from Saints Row 2, just happened by sheer coincidence, of the Sons of Somebody, like leaders and stuff, and it just sticks with you. It really does. There's just something about it, the writing.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, and what a shame how they've absolutely butchered.
Yeah, we'll just remember Saints Row 2 as a classic and move on. Pretend that the series ended there, you know.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk about that in a future episode.
Yes,
like,
I was.
Let's keep it light. These are favourite games. We're talking about positivity. The negativity can come later.
And speaking of which, we move on to the podium.
Yeah,
onto your
bronze
number
medal.
3.
So these 3 get. So my 4 and 5, it was debatable about what games got in there, and it was kind of tough to pick. But these 3 at the top are kind of above the rest, in my opinion. Just these 3 games I have played repeatedly, gone back to over and over again, and I'm pretty sure. Well, I'll be playing them for at least like the next 5 years at least. So my number 3 game is Hearthstone.
Oh yes.
You've got that one, I'm sure. So Hearthstone is a trading card game that was made by Blizzard, who also made games like StarCraft, Diablo, World of Warcraft. And it's based on the sort of lores characters, which is what first enticed me, because I've sort of been involved in the Warcraft universe. And I'd never played trading card games before. I think when I was very, very young, my dad had Magic the Gathering, and I sort of gave that a go, but I had no idea what was going on. It was so complicated, and I was so young that it was sort of, I liked the look of all the cards, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was throwing, just tapping cards, seeing if they worked. So Hearthstone was the first trading card game that I actually got into, understood, and I've just been playing ever since, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, over time, it has been a bit pay to win at times, and I would hate to learn how much money I've spent on that game, because
You're saying that with biting your tongue, mate.
Oh, it's terrible. I honestly don't know the full figure, but it would be embarrassing and just shocking how much. But that's just because I love the game and I play it so much, because it is the relaxing type of thing where I don't have to I can chill out playing it. It's a relaxing game. I can go into a game. I've got cards to pick from, I've got 30 seconds to make a choice. I can, sit back in my chair, and, it's just one of those relaxing things that you can do for, even if I've got something to do in half an hour, I can just stay, right, I'll play a quick game of Hearthstone. Or you can just go over, play game after game after game after game and play it all night, as I've done before many times, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so some of the interactions with the cards and flavor of the cards. They just do so well. And they've recently released Battlegrounds, which is an auto battler, which is another mode that I adore. I play that mostly now, to be honest. But that's fair. That's well, it's free to play, essentially. And you can play at a high level, free to play, whereas normal Hearthstone, you will have to invest some funds, I think, starting off to be sort of competitive. So yeah, and the interaction with the different tribes, so you can buy certain types of minions in the battlegrounds, and the way they synergize with each other is just super satisfying. And when you have that like end game build where you've like got, the ultimate demons that all, interact with each other, and you've just got insane amount of stats, super satisfying, super game. Yeah.
And because obviously we played this together a whole lot, haven't we?
We certainly have. Yeah.
And I've got to say that the thing about it is it's kind of the feel that it gives you when you go into the menus. Like it's hard to explain, isn't it? It's like the music comes on.
Yeah.
You've got the dwarf in the background going, what does he say? Good to meet you. Welcome.
Good to see you again.
Yeah. And it's kind of the vibes that it gives you, isn't it? And all of a sudden you're like, it engrosses you, basically.
Yeah, like a lot of Blizzard games, I'd say it's like a simple concept done extremely, extremely well, and it's so polished.
Yeah.
And as you say, the menu screens are just sort of like simplistic, but it's weird. It's like satisfying. Like you press the play button and it's satisfying, and that shouldn't be the case, but they've somehow managed to do that. And as you say, the innkeeper with his voice lines is funny, and it is like it's a relaxing feeling when you sort of open up the game and he greets you. Yeah.
And I mean, you kind of alluded to it. It is a bit pay to winny.
Yeah, 100%.
It is a free to play game, so ultimately, when games are free to play, the majority do end up having that element, don't they? Unless it's like Fortnite and it's purely cosmetic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of one thing that has always kind of alienates me a little bit, and then I get back into it and stuff, and then I notice that again, and I get frustrated with it and stuff. But then you do also have Battlegrounds, don't you, which isn't really pay to win.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've been super into Battlegrounds.
Yeah, as we have.
Yeah, I do empathise with people. It's the traditional Hearthstone game mode where you get cards is just, well, it's pretty much impossible to get into as like a fresh starter. I'm only still playing that because I've had sort of, goodness, how 5+ years probably, like collecting cards and earning. You do earn gold from wins, but it's really minimal. But the only reason I'm able to keep up without spending a ridiculous amount of money is just by the amount I've played. But as you say, Battlegrounds is a really nice like free to play mode. I do think I prefer it to traditional Hearthstone at this point. They've done it really well. Really fun.
Well, that was a shock that was in the list.
Yeah, as I say, the top 3 are kind of obvious. If you
oh dear.
Yeah.
We'll have a competition at the end. Whoever's got the better
not
predictions.
Doing too well so far.
Everything's a good competition for me. Not doing well so far. Oh dear.
We'll see. What's number 3? Should we move on?
Number 3. I'll be interested to know if you predicted this one or not. Number 3 on my list is The Sims 3.
Ooh, okay, The Sims.
I couldn't tell you how many, as you said earlier, I couldn't tell you how many hours I've sunk into this game. Many hours over many years. I mean, it's been out for quite some time now, hasn't it? And I still play it now because I don't like The Sims 4, to be honest. And just for anyone who hasn't played it, it's just a life simulation game. You create a character, you create a family, you do whatever you want, move in as a pre-existing family, and just live your life, really. I mean, I've not really explained that brilliantly, have I? But
No, I think that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a life simulator, isn't it?
yeah,
Literally.
you get jobs, you build houses, you buy stuff, you achieve things, you marry people, or
Kill your
whatever you want.
Sims by deleting the ladders on the pool.
Yeah. There are some psychos listening now who
Who just
who've
buying the
done
game
that,
right
yeah.
now? Like,
Yeah,
bye bye.
I've obviously never done that.
I believe you.
So yeah, like Sims 3, definitely the best of all the Sims. I've played all of them, like Sims 1, 2, 3, and 4. In my opinion, that one's the best. And the reason why I think that one's better than The Sims 4 is because with The Sims 4, they basically stripped it down and re-released it. They stripped The Sims 3 down and just re-released it as another game. You couldn't have, I think it was toddlers in there. There wasn't an open world, loads of loading screens. A lot of stuff that was in The Sims 3 just wasn't in The Sims 4, and that's why I stuck it out with The Sims 3. And particularly if you add some of the expansion packs and the stuff packs and what have you, if you got the PC to do that, then it is a really, really good experience, and it's just so fun. Something, again, because you can simulate time, you can pause and play at your own discretion, you can fast forward, you can literally just lose hours and days playing this game. And as I have done many times, I've looked up and it's been 9 o'clock at night, and I've looked up again and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's one of them games you really sink into it. And once you get into playing it, you'll have that phase then where, as I do many times, where a few days, a week, 2 weeks, you're just on it. That's the game you're playing, and it's one of them. And obviously because you can. You have children, the family legacy goes on. It can just go on and on and on and on. And it's one of them, sink many, many hours into it.
Yeah, Sims 4's a weird one because, as you say, they actually reduced the amount you can do in a new game.
Yeah.
And I was watching a YouTuber who bought all the DLC and it came up to like above €1,000.
I mean, that's a joke, isn't it? That is an absolute joke.
It's just ridiculous. And they have an in-game shop as well as that.
Yeah.
So he spent €1,000, over €1,000, and they were still trying to get him to spend more money on cosmetic stuff. It's just mental, and you are bombarded with like offers and stuff, and it just puts you off. It puts me off anyway.
Which is why I advocate Sims 3 over Sims 4.
Yeah,
all day long.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I remember playing Sims 1 with my sister, older sister, who sort of helped get me into gaming as well. Wow, like the music of that game, do 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 do.
Yeah, the kind of like jazzy kind of upbeat music.
Yeah, crazy nostalgia, man, crazy. Yeah, I think 90% of gamers have played Sims, right? At some point.
I don't know.
Like, everyone knows Sims.
Yeah, everyone knows it,
surely.
but I don't know if they played it.
Yeah,
a lot of people
have.
Yeah. I'd love to know what the sales figures are, actually.
Oh, yeah, crazy. But yeah, I mean, that is like a GOAT game.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's another one I've got a feeling I played that first at your house. Every single game on this list. Up until the next two, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Over to your runner-up, silver medalist.
So, my silver medalist is an amazing game called The Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
How many consoles have you got it on, mate? How many generations?
Oh. Well, I've got about 3 copies on my PC. I think I actually did buy like the PS3 version as well ages ago. It is just such an incredible game. It's one of those games that was ahead of their time when it came out. Oblivion was a brilliant game, voted Game of the Year, and then they came out with Skyrim, which just took it to another level. Just an incredible game. Like, I love when you're able to create your own character in these games and sort of get into like a role-playing, mindset.
Yeah.
And like, right, this is me, this is what I'm doing. and then you're able to like choose your path on to like how you play the games. So do you want to be a big fighter? Do you want to be like a sneaky rogue? Do you want to be a spellcaster? Like choices. I love choices in gaming. You're not like pigeonholed into doing something. You can do whatever you like in whatever way you like. And the story I just think was brilliant. Side quests in these type of games like Fallout and Skyrim are just incredible and really just get you to just love the story and the lore. Some really epic moments, and yeah, a lot of late nights playing this one for sure.
And then again, that's another game that you showed me. I first played with you.
Yeah.
And I want to pick up on something you kind of alluded to there, where you were like saying you can kind of do what you want when you want, in however order you want, and that is one of the most beautiful things about it, is that, say for example, you've got the main storyline and the main narrative, but you've got all these different side quest lines, such as the Dark Brotherhood, you've got the kind of the war and stuff, and you can go and do them as you please.
Yeah, exactly. You're actually, I'd argue you're encouraged not to do the main story.
Yeah.
I'd say the best way to play the game is to do like the first tutorial bit, get to the first little town, and then just go off and do your own thing and just explore the world, talk to people, and just, you know, if someone gives you a question, you're like, I don't care about this guy, you can literally just move on.
Yeah.
Like, you're not forced into doing it. You can literally just move on and say, right, do you have anything interesting to say, or do you want any, you know, do you want your floor broomed or something, swept or something? And then he'll be like, yeah, like, yes, right, let's do this. Like, you can just choose whatever you like, and you're not forced to do anything in that game, which is what I love about it. It just, yeah, the freedom is incredible. And, you know, you get to fight dragons, which is obviously epic, like really epic moments in that game as well.
The DLCs are also, I think, kind of take the game to a new level, don't they? Because, you know, particularly with the one, all of a sudden you can buy a house and expand it, can't you? You get married and stuff,
Yeah.
and you have children and that, and it goes a long way, doesn't it? Particularly with the DLCs.
Yeah, the DLC I think they did perfectly, really. I would have personally liked to see another like story-led DLC, but I think the two they released are just excellent in quality. Like, I don't have a bad thing to say about either of them.
Yeah, the other one is the college, isn't it?
So there's the house one. There's the house one. Then there's the Dawn Guard DLC, which is like the vampires and the vampire hunters. Again, choices. You can choose which faction to join. Brilliant.
Yep.
Choices. And then the final one is they actually release a new like continent of dark elves, which is, you know, as you know, I think dark elves are awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
no one will get that reference.
no, literally no one. It's just a YouTube that we used to watch ages ago, and actually, like, he was the guy who first got me into the Elder Scrolls series. Weirdly,
really.
Enough. Seriously, because I watched the Skyrim trailer, and then I was looking for like Oblivion playthroughs, because you know, that was the previous game to Skyrim, and I was like, oh, this Skyrim looks awesome. And then I watched him play Oblivion.
Oh, okay.
Lord, shout out to Lord Vega, the OG. And then I remember, because I was on holiday with my family and I was just watching these YouTube videos, just like over and over, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to get back and play Oblivion on my days. And then it just all went on from there.
And was your first playthrough with a Dark Elf by any chance, man?
It certainly was, man. It certainly was. I got the tip off and I was just like, right, let's do it. But yeah, so that has a new continent, and just like a great story. Again, it's not just one story. There's like, you know, everyone in the first town has something for you to do. It's crazy. It's so good. And you can just pick your favorite character and be like, right, I want to interact with you more. You seem interesting. Go do that.
Yep.
Yeah, just brilliant. Just a brilliant game that I will forever love, I'm pretty sure.
And
I keep going back to it. I keep going back to it every few months.
Really? Yeah, you keep playing it
through? 100%.
How many times do you reckon
Whether
you
it's
played
just
it
a dip in. Oh, I played the main story. I mean, at least 5. At least 5,
really?
Maybe more. Yeah.
And Elder Scrolls 6, ready to go?
Oh, mate. I've got to book some days off work for that. Probably a month.
Well,
just
in about game. 10 years when it finally comes out.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I mean, they teased us with that like mini
teaser. Yeah.
Teaser.
Time lapse.
I'm waiting for both the new Elder Scrolls and the new Fallout. And
Starfield.
I'm really excited. And Starfield, yeah, 100%.
I mean, we will probably
Starfield
do an
would be great.
episode on that, won't we? If this
Yes, I'm sure we will.
becomes a thing, yeah.
But Elder Scrolls, man.
Is there anything you'd like
'Cause
to
it's-
see them do, like what you'd like to see in 6 that wasn't in 5, or things that you'd like changed?
Yeah, more choice, like more dialogue choices, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because in terms of your freedom with what you're doing, it's infinite. You can literally do anything. But with talking, there is sometimes just like one option,
Yeah.
you know. And I'd like some of that New Vegas style. You can either help this guy or you can, sabotage the whole thing.
Yeah.
I would like to see more dialogue options, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well.
Okay, so on to your silver medalist.
Yeah. My runner-up is Mass Effect 2.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah,
So, have you ever played the
Wow.
Mass Effect games?
I have.
You
Yeah.
have. Okay.
Yeah.
You like them?
So yeah. I finished Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
These games are so special. They really, really are. For anyone who hasn't played them, Mass Effect is a sci-fi game, and it's similar to it has elements that Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls would, for example, where it's there's open world elements. You choose what you say, you make decisions, obviously based around combat and stuff. And you start as Commander Shepard, who is kind of thrust into the limelight as part of the first story. I won't say what happens, obviously, to avoid any spoilers, but you go on this journey throughout Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. You have so many different narratives. You have this kind of big threat to the galaxy, which, by the way, it's many, many years into the future. Human race has kind of surged ahead after discovering technology on Mars, and so you have all these different races and stuff who are kind of all intertwined in like a galactic government. And humans are trying to get in on that as well. You have these big threats called the Reapers, who are just trying to destroy everything, and you'll find out more about the motivations and stuff for that as you play and as you advance through the narrative. So yeah, you've got Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. You've also got Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the latest one. But in particular, why Mass Effect 2, I think, is the best ahead of all the others is, one, I think it gave you the most choice ahead of any of the others. It was compared to 3, where there's a lot of questions about the ending. Again, we won't talk about that. And 1 where naturally it's the earliest game, so the technology is reduced a little bit compared to 2, whereas 2 is just slap bang on the money, and the kind of cinematography is absolutely stunning. It really is. Even today, they recently released the Legendary Edition, which is all the games remastered, 1, 2, and 3, and I played that. It's available on all the newest generation of consoles, and it's just phenomenal. It really is, particularly in 4K. It just strikes at you. And part of the reason also why Mass Effect 2 is better than all the others is, for a lot of it, it's based more around you and your companions and building those relationships. And that is absolutely vital, because that's really what makes you care, basically. I don't want to be constantly just fighting off the bad guys all the time, and that's the main thing of the story. I care more about the characters and the relationships and that kind of side of the narrative. And Mass Effect 2, in my opinion, really kind of pushes that out there the most. And that, for me, is why that is the best of the lot. What are your thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, I mean, I agree basically with everything you said. I think Mass Effect 2, I think it's I tried 3. I really couldn't get into it.
Really?
So I played the start of 3, and never finished it. But Mass Effect 2, it kind of it was a random purchase. I think I was looking on Origin,
Okay.
the EA store, and I just fancied a new game, and I saw Mass Effect 2 had good reviews, and I started playing it, and I just couldn't stop playing. Like, literally, it was so good. As you say, the choices are brilliant. The characters are great. Like, the really unique alien creation that they've done, like the different races and stuff, are really like interesting.
Yeah.
The characters are brilliant. the choices I actually cared about. Like I actually took time, like thinking about what am I going to do. I didn't just click something aimlessly and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I thought the combat was decent. I'd say playing the levels themselves maybe wasn't the like funnest gameplay experience. If I had to like criticize it,
I'd actually agree with that in terms of it, like a lot of the time. There's the one massive, the biggest drawback I have with the series is that a lot of the time through a lot of levels it was constantly like get your gun out, start shooting, etc. And I care less about that. Like say I want more interactions and that sort of thing. So I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, but like the fact that you had your own ship and like you could just walk around speaking to everyone, all the unique characters, it was really, really well done. Yeah.
And again,
100%.
like the decisions are consequential. Like, you make a decision in the first one that could still be carrying repercussions by the time you get to Mass Effect 3, which is just like, that is how a game should be built, in my opinion. These sort of games, when they're trying to build on those kind of decision making and consequences, and that is just supreme kind of game design. And have you played Andromeda?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I've
only played 2 and 3.
Well, I mean, I'd advise getting the Legendary Edition out of they're remastered, and
I was gonna say I need to get
giving it a bash because obviously the combat is different in those. They kind of make quality of life changes and stuff. So it could be worth a bash. Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, you can lend mine if you've. You ain't got an Xbox Series X, have you? Never mind. Get it on PC. Get it on PC instead.
Never mind. Yeah. I think I will, to be honest. Great games.
Right. Before we get on to number 1,
yes,
we are going to cheat just a little bit. And we wanted to put forward a couple of honourable mentions, games that we wanted to sneak in that didn't quite make the cut. So, do you have any honourable mentions, pal?
I do. So I want to include 3, and I'm only going to go over them briefly because obviously they're just honourable mentions. But I've got 2 retro games that was sort of at the very start of my gaming experience. When I started playing games, aged 8 or whatever. So, Dungeon Keeper.
Yes.
Dungeon Keeper, which is a game where your sort of eagle-eye view of like it's like you're underground and you've got to carve out your own dungeon, and you put different rooms in different places, and then you've got like different kind of demons that sort of live in your dungeon, and the idea is that you build up your base and then beat the enemy essentially. And I just think the missions were done so well, the characters were good, the gameplay is probably a bit dated.
Well, yeah, it is now.
It's
there is that,
yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a weird way of like controlling you guys, because you put down a flag to get all your enemies to go to a location. So it wasn't like the most user friendly gameplay.
Yep.
Like you'd imagine for most games, you just sort of like create click and drag to select all your units and then right click somewhere to move. That wasn't a thing with this game. They had a mind of their own. They did what they want. And if you pissed them off too much, if you didn't give them enough food, they'd literally just either left your dungeon or just started ruining what you made, which was very rude in my opinion. But legendary game for sure. The other retro game is Age of Empires, the OG of RTS.
Quality.
Again, one of the very first games I ever played. Yeah, so it's a RTS, basically a traditional medieval RTS, right? So you pick a faction, or the Britons, or the Goths, whatever. You load in, you've got villages, you build up food, you mine stone, you mine gold, you've got these resources, and you build up an army to defeat your enemy again. Just really well done for an RTS, it was just simple, to the point, but effective. The campaign was good. Just like really, it has a special place in my heart because it was just so early on in my gaming. And I've always liked the medieval era swords and shields.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always love playing that game. And just quickly to finish off, the final game in my honourable mentions is a game that I have a huge amount of hours sunk into, which is Civilization.
Hey.
So between Civilization 5 and Civilization 6, I have around 700 hours, which is insane. It's
Pretty tame, mate.
It's turn-based strategy. It's on tiles as well, so you make cities, you choose what you produce, and you build up your civilization. It's super fun. I think maybe the issue why it didn't reach my list was because it's such an investment. Even if you're in single player, I find I have to either finish it in that session or I'm not coming back to it.
Okay.
Because by the time I come back to it, it's sort of like, oh, what was I doing in this city? What was I doing again?
Yeah.
Because it's so much strategy that you forget like all the intricacies that you sort of set up. And I always come back to it and I'm like, what was I doing? What was this city? What was this worker doing? What was this scout doing? I'm just like, oh, let's just start again.
Yeah.
And the process renews, So amazing game, especially fun when you're playing it with friends. Like if you get a bunch of pals and you're all playing, you've got sort of diplomatic issues, trading, really fun. Yeah.
And we've sunk many hours into that, haven't we? Together.
100%, mate. 100%, yeah. It's a really great game, yeah. But it just got pipped to the post by Total War Warhammer, I think.
Yeah. Which I'm surprised about, really.
Yeah. I'm happy with my choice, I think.
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah. In terms of how I've enjoyed the game, Total War Warhammer definitely comes above Civ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So what about you?
Yeah, so my 3 honourable mentions. The first one is a game you know very well, World of Warcraft.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, of course.
Obviously, I'm playing it at the moment, actually, even when I get a chance, when my YouTube allows me to. It's something about the game, like, as I've said this to you many, many times, obviously it's a massively multiplayer online RPG. We all know what World of Warcraft is. But as I said to you amount of times, the reason that I keep coming back to it, I can't explain. It's like the feel of it, the music, the world, the lore. Like, there's a lot of questions that I've risen about kind of the gameplay, like this kind of question, like go and fetch 10 hides and stuff like that. And how, the quest, it's fairly tough to kind of follow a story. It's just a bit of text on a screen. But there's something about it. There really is. It's just the feel of it. I can't explain everything about it. The races, that fantasy element, and it's just top, isn't it? It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Second honourable mention is Red Dead Redemption 2. Love that game.
Yes.
Really, really good game. I really wish they'd remaster it for next gen, because I would be all over it straight away. And this is kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Symptomatic, maybe? Is that the word? Like symptomatic of Rockstar games where they release a game and it just holds up for many years. I don't know how they do it. Like, there are things that GTA 5 does that still to this day it does better than other games that are coming out now. And that is 10 years old that game is. And it's the same with Red Dead 2, and I think it will be the same with Red Dead 2 for the next many, many years. Just the physics, the feel, the kind of gritty nature of the storyline, it does so much that it just makes it so special. And I really ummed and ahed about getting this into the top 5 for a while. Didn't make it in the end. Probably because of the fact I've only played it through once, which is a bit weird. I started playing it through recently, but then I got sidetracked with all other stuff and that. So I haven't completed it, but might be worth getting back on it.
Yeah, and it's the kind of game you could always come back to, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It does things as well that GTA 5 doesn't do. Like, it took GTA 5's kind of formula and made it better. Like things like you can make more decisions, you can choose stuff that you say, and that things like you have to keep on top of your hair and your beard, like that. Do you know what I mean? That is so like
Little
intricate. Things like that. It's such a small minor detail, but that's the sort of thing I'm on about, where it just makes that game so special that they put the time and effort into that. So yeah, that's a very, very, very good game. And the third honourable mention is Smackdown versus Raw 2008.
Oh, yes.
And again, another game that you showed me. I remember going around to your house all the time and playing this game, and I didn't know any at the time, and I begged my mum for it, and managed to get it for, I think it was Christmas in the end or something. And it's just the memories more than anything. The soundtrack, the fact that it has GM mode. So for anyone who doesn't play wrestling games, who has never played wrestling games, you have this kind of mode called GM mode, General Manager mode, which is basically where you control the entire roster. You pick the matches, you do the storylines, all that good stuff, negotiate the contracts. And that was the last SmackDown WWE game to have GM mode until this year when WWE 2K22 came out. So for nearly 15 years, we had wrestling games and there was no GM mode, which is crazy because it was just everyone was asking for it, everyone wanted it, and they just didn't deliver. But even this year's My GM mode on WWE 2K22, it's not a patch on the one from 2008. It really isn't. Something really, really special. And as I say, me and you, we played a few hours on this, didn't we?
Just a few,
yeah. So, yeah, really, really fun game. Obviously, the graphics are an issue. It's dated and stuff. But when you're playing GM mode, it doesn't matter quite as much. You kind of deal with it because you're not playing the matches and stuff. So,
I loved setting up those big title matches.
Oh yeah,
against number 1 and number 2 in your roster, and competing with the other franchises for wrestlers. It was so good.
Yeah, because obviously you had the 3 brands, and you have Raw, you have SmackDown, you had ECW, and you're trying to compete with all of them for the ratings, the most fans, the viewership, etc., the money, and so you got to try and put on the best matches and stuff like that, the best storylines, and it was just so fun, so exhilarating.
Yeah, brilliant game.
So, the moment has arrived. On to the gold medalists, the winners of the league table.
Gold medalists. Well, I am like 99.9% sure that you guessed this one. This game there was no question about this going number 1. It was just, I instantly put it on there. It is World of Warcraft.
Yes, I thought so.
It is World of Warcraft. For me, it's just a game like no other, honestly. The way it makes you feel. For me, that's the key thing with games. It's how they make you feel. And this game, every time I come in, every time I log in, I just feel like, oh my goodness, I'm back. I'm back in this amazing world.
That is literally it, isn't it?
Amazing characters, yeah. And I can go wherever I like. I can do whatever I like. It's just so good. I've got so many good memories from it. It's just incredible. The amount of times I've had like all-nighters playing this, it's one of those games you can just sink. You could just you could just become unemployed and play this 24/7 if that made you happy. You could definitely do that. Yeah. It's that type of game. Yeah. There's no limit to how much you can play this game. It is just incredible. And as you said, we've been playing this recently. It's great to have Classic back. I think that was a really good move. I mean, the fans nagged them for ages to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And they eventually gave in, and it's just been super for them. New expansion coming out in 2 months.
November 28th, maybe. Isn't it?
I'll probably give it a go. Yeah, 28th of November. I'll probably give it a go, but yeah, modern WoW isn't what it used to be. But I'm still going to level the character up to cap level each expansion and see what it's all about. Just amazing. Each class has got 3 different specializations, so you've got choices galore. You've got races again. You've got fantasy. You've got like professions you can sink your time into. You've got economy. You've got just everything. Like, oh my goodness! And it's something about the quest system as well. It's so like rewarding. It does something. I sent you a picture on Instagram a couple of weeks ago where it was a screenshot of like a bunch of hand-in icons. So when you have a quest ready to hand in, it has a question mark.
Yep.
And there was this screenshot of somewhere on the map where it had like 6 question marks, and it was just like it did something to me. It's like, oh, I've got all these quests to hand in, and I'm so excited. I'm going to get all this XP, and it's just
that shot of
it's
adrenaline.
Really. Yeah, it's really strange how much it sort of is wired into my brain. Probably a bit worrying, I guess. But,
Well, yeah.
But I will forever love that game. Yeah, 100%.
And as you say, it's just a feel, isn't it? You just can't explain it. Like when you come back onto it, the feeling it gives you, it's so tough to explain.
Yeah,
but
it's incredible.
There's just something about it. I don't know how they do it.
It's a unique, once in a lifetime experience. Yeah. I think it's just really wow. Yeah.
And as you kind of alluded to, and we've spoken about at length many times, the writing has gone just. I mean, it is
terrible,
capsized, isn't it? It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's very bad. And that's it's such a shame because ultimately the lore is so developed. It's so intricate. It's just really, really good, really interesting.
Yeah, it's so dense, and they've written obviously books, and they've had the Warcraft games prior to World of Warcraft, where that just established a bunch of lore.
Yeah.
And it just seems like this expansion in particular, it's just like they've produced enemies out of thin air.
Yeah.
And it's just getting more and more ridiculous as well. Like, we've travelled back in time. We're now travelling to the land of the dead, and you can just sort of go back and forth as you please. And
which
there's
is
this random
ridiculous.
guy that we've never heard of, which is now our arch nemesis that we're supposed to care about, even though we've never heard of him before. And it is, the writing has really gone downhill. And
but you see, the thing is, I mean, I've not spoken to you about this, I don't think, but you obviously got WoW Classic now, which, for anyone who doesn't know, World of Warcraft Classic is they're going back to previous expansions, and you can kind of play those previous expansions as if they were fresh, new releases and stuff.
Yeah. Relive those experiences.
Yeah. And obviously the gameplay is completely different because it's back to what it was like back then. So back in, when was Lich King? 2008 maybe?
Yeah, 2008.
Whereas, so in my opinion, the gameplay now for the current WoW is much better. It's much more streamlined. You've got a whole lot of quality of life improvements. Whereas in Classic, it's a bit more kind of long-winded, but then the writing back in Classic is a whole lot better than what you've got now. And it's kind of tough to kind of, like, which one do you go for? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've kind of been umming and ahhing about this for the last few weeks, which is why I've kind of flicked between both of them. But I know you kind of disagree on that a little bit. You're kind of all right with the gameplay back in Classic and Lich King and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. It's tougher, and it's less forgiving, and it can be just plain frustrating at times, some of the stuff that happens. But on the other hand, it's more rewarding. Like, when you've done all these quests, it took you ages, but you've finally done, and then you hand it in, and you get all this experience, and you're like, oh, I earned this. Whereas current day WoW, it's satisfying, it's like quicker, it's more just like user friendly, but you sort of I personally, when I'm leveling, just want to get to next level, right, next level, next level. Whereas Classic, I found that nothing like that. I was just like, right, well, I'm on this now, I'm doing this at the moment, and I didn't think about the future, like, oh, let's just get through this like it's a grind. I was just enjoying my time, because every mob is like a challenge. If you pull 2 mobs, you can die in Classic. Whereas you can pull about 6 in retail and not die, So there's like actual consequences to your actions in Classic. And it just makes it just makes me sort of, just value everything, And heirlooms as well. Like, I've got a full set of heirlooms in retail. I just whack that on, and then literally I don't have to change gear until cap level.
Yeah.
Whereas in Classic, every time I get an upgrade from a quest, I'm like, wow, I've got this green robe that's terrible, but it's an upgrade.
It means something. Yeah.
Yeah, it means something. I'm like, yes, right, okay, maybe I can finally go do this quest that I was too difficult before, So yeah, I think a bit like you, I'm umming and ahhing a bit, but yeah, I think they've both got pros and cons, haven't they? Really, yeah, for sure,
definitely. So, I'm absolutely shocked that was your number one.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. Sure, those top three really threw.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're going to be absolutely shocked that this is my number one.
I'm confident in this.
You're absolutely confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stake your house on it.
I wouldn't go that far. You might surprise me, but no, I'm pretty confident. I'd stake. Yeah, let's go.
So my number one is The Witcher 3.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this game so much. It's just I can't even explain. I really do think this is the best. Like, I know I haven't played every game, but I just can't imagine a game being better than The Witcher 3. I really can't. It is just extraordinary. Even now, it still blows my mind. For anyone who hasn't played it, please play it. Just play it. Like,
what are you doing with your life? Play it.
Even you haven't played it properly, have you? You've only kind of dabbled with the intro kind of thing, that the first.
Yeah. So yeah. This is it. This is an interesting one because it's probably the one game on both our lists that like you love, and I'm just not a fan that much of. I mean, I need to give it a proper go for sure, but I sort of got up to the middle of the second zone or something.
Was it the Bloody Baron quest that you?
Yeah. So I think I just completed that.
That's the first zone.
But there's nothing that like I didn't. There's nothing that like made me stop playing or anything.
Yeah.
I just sort of didn't have the. I wasn't like compelled to keep playing it. Weirdly enough, like I probably didn't play enough, and I'm sure I will give it another go at some point. But for this one, yeah, I'd love to hear everything, all of your thoughts about it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, so for anyone who hasn't played it, The Witcher 3, or The Witcher games in general, it's about a Witcher called Geralt of Rivia, and Witchers are basically monster hunters. People will pay them to kill monsters. Now, that makes it sound like, oh, this is boring, it's just another game, you're going around slashing up monsters. It's really not the case. Really not the case at all. So much substance to this. You choose what you say, you make decisions that have consequences throughout the story, you build relationships, you choose whether or not to keep those relationships, throw people off, etc. There is so much kind of substance to it. You have this massive open world that is very free. You're very free to go and do a whole range of different things. It's not quite Skyrim in terms of, as we spoke about earlier, where you do the prologue and then all of a sudden you can go and do many quest lines. Like, you've got a lot of side quest lines, but for the main quest line, you've got to go in the order of the 3 zones that there are, basically. But
which are very well done, I will say.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the first zone is the worst zone. Like, it's kind of this swamp. It's a place called Velen. It's a bit of a swamp. It's a bog, basically, and that's definitely the worst of all the zones. So if you can get through that, just uphill from there.
Yeah, I will go back.
Yeah.
Sure. This has been a wake up call, a reminder.
Yeah, well, hopefully,
hopefully,
it's about time.
I say that.
And so, yeah, it's one of them. If you love games where you make decisions, they have consequences, you choose what you say, this is for you. Open world games, tremendous combat. Honestly, I think it just absolutely cruises past the likes of Skyrim, Fallout, and Mass Effect, and any other game. Like, the combat is just so good. Really
in terms of combat, I will definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Skyrim, Fallout all week.
Yeah. And that's another thing we'll probably talk about another time, but like, yeah, just everything to it. The physics stuff, we talk about how like the GTA and the Red Dead games have these kind of elements of physics that many games don't do now. It's the same with The Witcher 3 as well. Like, that does stuff that just other games can't seem to implement. And it's really, really special. The storyline is fantastic. In The Witcher 3, I actually didn't play The Witchers 1 and 2. Witcher 3 was the first one I played, which is the case for a lot of people. And so you kind of miss bits of the storyline. You know, you haven't grown to know the characters and stuff, but you will pick it up. It will kind of explain to you as best as it can through cinematics and stuff. And in this one, you know, you're chasing down, trying to find your kind of adopted daughter, I guess is the best way to put it, who is being hunted by the Wild Hunt group of, well, actually, I won't tell you what they are because you'll learn that if you do play the game. But yeah, so you're trying to find her, and along the way, you've got all these other relationships forming and building, and these side quest lines as well. And it's just tremendous. And the DLCs, it's got 2 DLCs, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. Absolutely brilliant. They are literally games in themselves. They are so big. They introduce new zones, more characters and storylines. They've probably got 10, 15, 20 hours plus just in them, which is crazy for DLCs. Absolutely crazy. And so it's tremendous. It really is. I've been wanting to replay this game for about 2 years now. And I haven't, because we have been promised the next gen upgrade, which also comes with ray tracing if you play on PC and stuff. And so I've decided for literally the last 2 years or so that I would hold off for that. So it has been so long since I've played this game, and I have been chomping at the bit to get back on it. And hopefully, as CD Projekt Red did announce, it is coming this year in the final few months. So, I mean, you know, we're now in October. It's got to be soon, surely. Come on. And when it does come, I might as well just, as you say, book time off work, because I'm going to be on that just religiously, 24/7. And yeah,
all day, all night.
What a game!
Yeah. No, I definitely will have to go back to it. I need to, make sure I do.
Yeah, I mean,
because what struck me was how, again, like we've said with previous games, which is a bit of a theme, but how well they did the different factions in it as well. Because there's a war going on, isn't there?
Yeah, so there's a war between the Northern Realms and Nilfgaard, basically. So yeah.
It creates like a real, like it includes you in their world.
Yeah.
When you like see things like that, it's like, right, this is the political situation. You get invested. They do that really well, and the stories are great as well, I gotta say.
And again, with that, so I mean, you raise a great point. With that war, you have certain storylines, quest lines and stuff where the decisions you make or don't make will impact that war, and all of a sudden the entire map might be ruled by someone different all of a sudden. So you've always got those consequences and those kind of weight to your actions on there, which again, this is part of what makes it so good. And it's just tremendous. I mean, even the title, like I always, when I heard back when my mate was trying to tell me to play it many, many years ago, and he was like, play The Witcher. I thought, well, that doesn't sound very good. But so please don't be like me. Please don't be put off by that. Just play it. Just try it.
Just give it a go. Yeah.
And you'll be blown away.
There's a couple of recurring themes I've noticed today. I'd love to create like a list of what makes the perfect game, like replayability, choices, those choices being consequential as well, like world involvement, I guess you could say, like how immersion, I guess you could say. I'd love to create a list of all the things, of all the different like categories.
Well, I think you've just given us an idea for another podcast episode later on down the line.
There you go.
What makes a perfect game?
Just a reminder to you at home as well. You got to comment in or send us an email what you want to see in the future.
Precisely. At AshBros Podcast on Twitter and AshBrosPodcast at gmail.com on email.
Perfect. There you go. Let us know.
So, that's our top 5. Now, I want us to look back. As we mentioned at the start of the episode, we tried to predict whom the other's list was. What the other's list was. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? So, how successful was you, mate?
I wasn't great, I'll be honest. So I got 2 of them.
Okay. So you equalled Emily.
Equal Emily.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. We agreed beforehand. She slipped me a fiver if I only got 2 right. So,
Yeah.
So I got The Witcher 3 at 1, which was kind of, again, just like my one. I knew that would be, your number 1.
Yeah.
I got The Sims as well.
Did you? Wow, I'm surprised about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was one that you wouldn't get.
No, I knew you've sunk a lot of hours into that. So yeah, I got The Sims. Then the other ones I guessed was World of Warcraft, which was one of your honourable mentions.
Yeah.
I actually guessed Warcraft 2.
Oh, do you know?
Which is a brilliant game
that was nearly in the honourable mentions. I will tell you that.
Yeah. It's a great game that I know that we played a lot of.
Yeah.
And the final one, I guess, was Rome Total War.
Oh, I mean, a Total War could have easily been in there, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant game.
Spoken about, just all of them are just really good. But that's unlucky. That is. That's unlucky. Very good guesses.
Not terrible guesses.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. All right, how about you?
I smashed it, mate. I really did.
Huh?
I absolutely smashed it. I got 4 out of 5, and then the 5th one was an honourable mention.
Oh.
So I didn't guess them in any order. I just kind of put the 5.
Yeah, no.
And I guessed Skyrim, New Vegas, WoW, and Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't guess Total War Warhammer 2, but I did put Civ 5.
Yeah, it was in contention. It was definitely in contention, yeah.
Which was obviously one of your honourable mentions, where you kind of said Civ full. You kind of said Civ 5 and 6.
Yeah, Civilization, because I played 5 and 6 and 4.
But you always made a big thing to me about how 5 was better than 6,
Civ 5's
didn't you?
my favourite. Yeah. But you got to move with the times, I guess.
Yeah.
I've started playing 6.
Yeah.
But definitely prefer 5. Yeah.
So absolutely. That's 1-0 to me. That is. We'll do.
It certainly is, mate. Yeah, we'll do a little score.
Yeah, we will for all the other episodes. You know, I like to be competitive.
Of course, mate. Of course.
So that rounds it off for our list, doesn't it?
I think so.
This has been well fun. I've got to say.
I've loved it, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
But the most important thing is, did you listening at home, or on the bus, or in the car, wherever you are, did you enjoy it? Please let us know. Any kind of feedback that you can give us. They rate on podcasts and 5-star rating. So yes,
give us a rating.
Yes, we should have said that at the start of the video. We'll get used to this podcasting stuff. As I say, it's very different to YouTube. So we are learning the ropes. And if there's anything that you kind of noticed in this podcast that you like change, you'd like us to work on, please let us know. Like I say, we want that feedback, don't we?
We certainly do, yes.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully this will be the first of many. We're going to have another kind of pilot episode 2. We haven't decided what the topic of that will be yet. I have a feeling it might have been top 3 game developers, but we will go and reconvene on that, won't we? And we'll decide for ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got a few really kind of fun topics planned if this becomes a thing, don't we? So, we can really get stuck into them.
We've got lots of ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And, we're going to cover as much news as we possibly can if this becomes a regular thing. So, there's a lot of releases coming until the end of this year and beyond. So I think hopefully, we can really get it going. Really excited for this. If you have enjoyed it, then please do come back for the next episode if and when it is out. And like I say, hit us up on Twitter, AshBros Podcast. Hit us up on YouTube, which you'll only be able to find the episodes on my YouTube, which is Broma18, or find us through email, ashbrospodcast@gmail.com, if you want to get in touch with any feedback, any kind of, I don't know, what's the word, input on the episode. Let us know your top 5 games. That'd be great. And Ash, any closing words before we kind of round it off here?
No, I just want to second your message that we want to hear all your feedback, honestly.
Yep.
We want to hear what you liked, what you didn't like, and be sure to give us a rating.
Yes. Follow the podcast on whatever your podcasting service may be. And with that being said, we are going to finish it there. Thank you so much for listening. If you've listened this far, that's really impressive. You know, an hour and a
That
half
is
we've
impressive.
done. So
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
think it'd be this long. I'll be honest. I thought we were going to be. I was looking at it thinking, are we going to have an hour's worth of content here? Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, we've
So
managed,
we've really gone beyond that. So if you listen this far, thank you so much to listen to us ramble on
thank you.
about games. We really do appreciate that. And so until the next episode, I've been Ash. He has been Ash.
And I've been Ash.
Yeah. And we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, guys. See you soon.